Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I'm fresh out of the gym today. Really did a number on myself. Here I am wearing the Hulkamania shirt, and that is what the video is about today, none other than Hulk Hogan. He's making the rounds in Australia right now. He's doing a lot of press. He's doing a lot of radio shows, a lot of morning shows, television shows. He's holding press conferences, and that's, just basically where the news comes from today about Hulk Hogan and WrestleMania 32. When I think about Australia, I think about, a continent, a country, whatever it's officially really called, that really does love professional wrestling and does have a big thirst for it. They don't get it there all that much. They have a lot of independent tours that go down there, but when it comes to the big companies, WWE, they don't really go down there that much, and when they do, they make it a really, really big deal. You think about the global warming DVD that came out around 2002, I believe. The main events, Triple H, The Rock, and Brock Lesnar. That's one of the good reasons to hang on to a DVD like that, is that that's the only place you're ever going to see a match like that. And I think about WCW. You'll have to read more about it in the Death of WCW book. I don't think they spend a whole chapter on it, but there definitely is a big chunk of a chapter talking about the WCW tour when they headed down to Australia in late, I believe it was 2000. It was one of the biggest money-making tours that WCW ever had in the whole time of being a company. But due to first-class travel and first-class hotels and pyro and the way that WCW ran as a business and just wasted money, they came back from that tour losing money. They had a win-win situation, finally had a chance to make some money and show a profit, and they blew it. It's just the way the WCW ran. But Hulk Hogan is down there. He's doing a lot of promotional things right now, and Hulk Hogan had a bit of news basically talking about him wrestling at WrestleMania 32. The exact quote went to the effect of Vince McMahon going to Hulk Hogan, and this is all from Hulk Hogan himself. But he says that Vince says they can't do WrestleMania 32 in Dallas and have a big sellout crowd without Hulk Hogan being a part of the show. And Hulk Hogan took this as Hulk Hogan's going to be wrestling. It's been 2 years since Hogan came back to WWE, since being a part of TNA and not being a part of the WWE family. And it was awesome when Hogan came back for WrestleMania 30. He came back on Monday Night Raw. I believe it was February 23rd. I'll still remember where I was when he came out on Monday Night Raw the first night. And it was just like watching No Way Out 2002 back in the day when Hogan came back. From being in WCW. It was just that feeling of, I never thought he was going to be back. This is where he's supposed to be. This is where he should have been all along. Hogan and TNA didn't really work out the way that he wanted to. I hope that he made a good little bit of money. But honestly, it seemed like it hurt his name value, in pop culture and everything like that, being a part of a second-rate company. The magic didn't strike twice. He went to WCW. 1995, it really didn't look like it was going to work out. The NWO struck fire, and Hogan was one of the top names in the business once again. Hulk Hogan's always been one of my favorite wrestlers, and I'll never turn down seeing a Hulk Hogan match. I just don't think that it's going to happen. Hogan was at WrestleMania 30. He came out and did the intro. Hogan was a part of WrestleMania 31. He came out as Hollywood Hulk Hogan as a part of the NWO during the WCW versus WWE Monday Night War match, also known as Triple H versus Sting. If word would have gotten out what they were going to do before they did it, I think that people would have thought that was one of the worst ideas of all time. But since everybody who was watching and everybody that was there didn't know what was happening when the DX music came on and then when the NWO music came on, it was really special, and it was really fun, and you just sat there, and you just like, I'm going to disband all disbelief in this match, seeing how most of these guys running down into this ring couldn't have a WWE match that anybody's going to think that's any good. I'm just going to sit back, and I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to love it. Hogan took a bump during that match. I believe it was like a, over-the-arm sort of throw, and he landed on his back. And I don't know if that was, something that he worked out with Vince that he was going to do, or if he just did it on the fly, and maybe he caught some heat after it was done. Because it's well known that Hogan's not supposed to be in the ring actually physically fighting, wrestling, or anything until he's able to pass a WWE physical, something that ended Edge's career, something that ended Mick Foley's career. And Hulk Hogan is a guy that's been around longer than those guys there. Hogan is definitely a legend, and there's definitely a spot for him to do something on the show. But if Hogan was going to wrestle, I thought that honestly it was going to be him coming to save John Cena at WrestleMania 30. I thought that there was a small chance of doing a Cena versus Hogan match at WrestleMania 30 before the Bray Wyatt deal came into effect. At WrestleMania 31, definitely that he could have been inserted into that match. Hogan and Cena going up against Rusev, and I don't really know who would have fit in as a partner, but definitely they could have found somebody in NXT to bring up and make some sort of a Russian servant and some sort of deal to finish that out if they wanted to have Hogan wrestle in some sort of tag match where all he really had to do was tag in at one point, have somebody run into his big boots, somebody run into his big fist, fall down, and play the Hulkamania music. I think that Hulk Hogan is a big part of WWE today. Anytime they want to launch something on the WWE network and make it be a big deal, I think that it's great that they have him under contract, that anytime they want to, stick a camera in his face and get some quotes from him about big moments, because he was a part of WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania, all the way up until WrestleMania 9. Most of those events, wrestling in the main event, most of the time being involved in the biggest storyline in professional wrestling at that time, whether if they want to talk about him versus King Kong Bundy. I think they've talked all that people want to hear about WrestleMania 1. If they want to talk about him versus Sergeant Slaughter and have some sort of a sit-down thing, talking about how crazy that was to be taking advantage of the Gulf War at that time and how big people really thought that Sergeant Slaughter was a part of the Iraqi army, and that you really wanted Hogan to make this guy bleed and kill this guy at WrestleMania 7. There's lots of things, but there's no way in the world Hogan's going to be wrestling. I think I've given up on that fact. He's not going to be part of a Survivor Series match. He's not going to be part of a tag team match. He's not going to be part of a singles match. I want to see it so bad, but there's no way in the world Hogan's going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. It's just, there's no way. I don't see it happening.